What should I say? All right. What's the story that you guys would like to hear? Today we're going to be talking about scabies outbreak in Namibia. Can well, um, well, it was yeah. Namibia has been inundated by the outbreak of scabies, specifically in the northern region of the country. This has caused severe disruptions, panic, especially in the education sector where learners have been severely affected. However, the Ministry of Health and Social Services is hard at work. Should I continue? All right. However, the Ministry of Health and Social Services is hard at work on the ground to fight and mitigate the spread of the disease. To help us unpack this crucial topic, I hope you guys switch off your microphones now when you guys are when I'm on air because I want to hear you in the background. It'll confuse me a lot. Okay, thank you. Okay, great. It's already three. Yes. All right. ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Government Information Sessions. My name is Donald Karisab. I will be the guest moderator for today's session. The focus for today's session will be an update on scabies outbreak in Namibia. So just a brief on what happened. Namibia has been inundated by the outbreak of scabies, specifically in the northern region of the country. This has caused severe disruptions, panic, and especially in the education sector where learners have been severely affected. However, Ministry of Health and Social Services is hard at work to fight and mitigate the spread of the disease. To help us unpack on this issue or on this topic, we are joined by specialists from the ministry. Mrs. Elizabeth Namatama Mantinure from Ministry of, who is an environmental practitioner at the Ministry of Health, is also in studio with us. Good day, ma'am. How are you doing? Great. We're also joined by Mr. Stanley Ava Aseb, who is the Chief Environmental Health Practitioner at the Ministry of Health and Social Services, primary health care at a national level. Good day, sir. How are you doing? Great. Before we get into the discussion today, I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Honorable Emma Theophilus, to present the Cabinet briefing.
Thank you so much, Donald. A very good afternoon to our viewers and listeners from the breadth and length of Namibia. Thank you so much for always tuning in to our government information sessions. This afternoon, I announce the cabinet decisions made at the 5th Cabinet Decision-Making Meeting held on Tuesday, the 12th of April 2022 as follows. Number 1. Cabinet approved the announcement of the 2022 hunting season by the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism in terms of Section 25 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance of 1975. This hunting season requires that the huntable game, as reflected in Schedule 5 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance of 1975, as amended, which may be hunted by virtue of a permit granted under Section 30 of the said ordinance. Secondly, the period of 1st May 2022 to 31st August in the case of registered conservancies and as declared in terms of Section 24 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance of 1975 and farms the size in the extent of not less than 1,000 hectares which are enclosed with a game-proof fence as defined in Section 1 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance number 4 as amended. The period of 1st June to 31st July 2022 in the case of farms the size in extent of not less than 1,000 hectares which are enclosed with an adequate fence as defined in Section 1 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance number 4 of 1975 as amended, and huntable game birds as reflected in Schedule 6 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance, which may be hunted on commercial farms and registered conservancies with a game bird quota by virtue of a written authority granted in accordance with Section 32 of said ordinance, and the species and number per hunter per day during the specific periods. The second Cabinet decision is that Cabinet endorsed that the total allowable catch for monk be set at 8,600 metric tons for the 2022-2023 fishing season. And finally, Cabinet approved that Namibia accepts the modified text of the Small Quantities Protocol between the Government of the Republic of Namibia and the International Atomic Energy Agency for the application of safeguards agreement related to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons for ratification by the National Assembly. Cabinet further took note that the government affirmative reply through the exchange of letters shall constitute an agreement between the Government of the Republic of Namibia and the Agency for Ratification of the Small Quantities Protocol, And lastly, Cabinet took note that the small quantities protocol amendment in a binding protocol and that modification and ratification would make it mandatory for the Republic of Namibia to establish, implement, and maintain a legal structure required under the said protocol. Moderator, this brings me to the end of the Cabinet decision-making announcement as per the Cabinet decision-making meeting of Tuesday, the 12th of April, 2022.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister of MICT, Honorable Emma Theophilus. Getting back to the discussion that we'll be having today, we will not be having a COVID update. However, there is another health crisis that has came on to our country, which is the scabies outbreak that broke out in Namibia, specifically that in the northern regions. I'm going to reintroduce my guest, or rather, let's have the guests reintroduce themselves and also tell us a little bit about the nature of their jobs and why they are the specialists speaking to us on scabies. Good day, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Can you just reintroduce yourself to our audience and just tell us the nature of the work that you're doing?
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Mrs. Elizabeth Namata Mamatinure. I'm an environmental health practitioner at Windhoek District, in short.
All right. Right, let's get to the gentleman to our far left. Just tell us a little bit about your job and what it entails.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners. I'm Stanley Awa-Isep. I'm a Chief Environmental Health Practitioner at the National Health Training Center at the national level from Primary Healthcare Division.
All right, let's jump right into it, Ms. Mantinure. Could you briefly give us an overview on what scabies is and how it spreads amongst our community members?
All right, thank you for an opportunity once more again. Scabies, as we've heard, is going to be our topic this afternoon. Scabies is a skin condition. This condition is caused by the infestation of a human itch mite. And this mite is a female mite, an adult one for that matter. It penetrates in the surface of the skin, which is called the epidermis. And when it reaches there, it lives there and lays eggs there. So when you come in contact, direct, prolonged skin-to-skin contact with the person who is infested with these scabies, the mite will be passed on to you. So this mite now, the human mite, the people are the ones who pass it. Animals do not pass this human mite or do not transmit this human mite. And I also want to say that it takes, to those people who have not had scabies before, it takes, the incubation period is 1 to 2 months. And for those who had it already, it only takes 1 to 2 days for you to show the signs and symptoms. And during the incubation period, you can still pass on the scabies mites to the next person, in short.
All right. Mr. Ngava, is there anything else you'd like to add on what Ms. Matinure has said?
Yeah, basically she has said all regarding the scabies, what it is and where you find it on the human being. But as she have mentioned, it's a small mite, she has said, and which is being from the Konami area. Okay, from okay.
Right,
From,
yeah, you were saying, sir?
yeah, and it is being, as you has mentioned, that you have finding on the human beings. So it's a small mite, those ones that she have mentioned.
All right. While I still got you there, about 3,454 cases of scabies has been reported countrywide during the month of January to March 2020. The ministry has thus urged the public to remain calm and comply with the preventative measures. What has the ministry done to curb the spread of the disease thus far?
Yeah, you know, since this has been the national crisis, the ministry have been doing the awareness campaign. The education, health education, what determines what's the cause and how it should be overcome this. And for keeping, it's not an easy task to eradicate scabies easily. So it's a UN venture with some other stakeholders. First of all, the community, it needs to be aware, to be told what it is and what is the cause, how the environment should be, the cleaning lines, taking out of personal hygiene, you know, regular washing, and then avoid as much as for the spreading. And those who are infected of the infestation must report, and also to see the medical help, comes to the clinics and so on. So the ministry is doing its best for the people to have awareness, even at schools. And that's what we have been doing.
All right. All right. Ms. Martinure, I just also want to know, just briefly, I think you've briefly mentioned it earlier, but what are the symptoms of a person infected by scabies, and how long does it take to get severe, for it to get severe?
Okay. Thank you for that question again. The most common symptoms and signs and symptoms of scabies, one of them is that you will have you'll be itching, your skin will be itching, especially at night. And also, you will develop some pimple-like rash on your skin. And all these symptoms that I've mentioned now, they can appear on most of the body parts, but sometimes they can only be localized in some body parts, like, you know, the elbows, the wrist, the armpits, the nipples, the penis, which is the male organ. Yes, those are some of the parts where these scabies can be localized. And when it comes to the severity of it, if you don't get treated on time, if you stay home and don't go to the clinic for help, then you will continue itching, and by itching now you'll be scratching. When you are scratching, you will develop some sores, and because you are scratching too much, those sores now will be infected by the bacteria around the skin, and that will end up bringing some complications that when you are now having the sores on your skin, when you are itching, and then you will have a problem also, like your heart diseases, and also the kidneys will be having a problem. That's why when you have it, when you suspect that you are having scabies, then it's better you go to the hospital and get medical attention on time to avoid such complications.
All right. I think you mentioned it earlier. Just to reiterate on the matter now, how long after you've gotten the symptoms, the first symptoms, should you wait in order to go to the hospital? Or how long does it take for you to be certain that you have scabies to go to the hospital?
Okay. Like I said before, when I said about this, when I mentioned the signs and symptoms.
Yes.
Yes. So if you see that you have those signs and symptoms, you should not hesitate to go to the hospital for medical attention. Or if you suspect that you were in contact with someone who has those signs and symptoms, you should go immediately to the hospital to seek medical attention.
All right. Ms. Ngaba, I want to just clarity on the scabies, just a differentiation, because there is also a misconception that, you know, bed bugs that people have, you also get similar sores when you do scratch yourself. How do you differentiate between having bitten by bed bugs and experiencing similar sores, which sort of also looks like scabies pimples that Madame has described here? How do you differentiate between the two? Because some people might assume that this is just bed bugs, or just stay at home and use home remedies.
Yeah, bed bugs are commonly found. Okay, all of them can be in the, but bed bugs is commonly in the bed, and So when scabies is on the human body, those ones you find they lives on the body of the human being. That's where they lay the eggs, as she have mentioned, and they hatch the eggs on the skin, the borers of your skin, while the bed bugs is only on the either in your clothes or in the bed, but they don't stay on the human body. That's a difference.
All right. So on that note, does the infection of scabies have long-term effects on the health of the infected person, Mr. Avese?
Yes, it does have infection on the long-term infection. Yes, as she has mentioned, it can produce, as it goes far, as she has mentioned, as my colleagues have mentioned, it can cause complications also to you because these lesions, it becomes a skin after irritation that this pimple comes in the water and then you scratch, then it becomes like having infection, that open source, as she has said, for bacterial infection, and can also become septic, also septicemia, and can cause a lot of complications to you also.
All right, all right. Ms. Martinure, it has been reported that scabies normally spreads in the most unhygienic environment, while other assertions that the disease has a result or as a result of a bite of a microscopic mite. What is the ministry doing to improve the sanitation of in areas that could be unhygienic, especially when we look at recently posted on social media websites of schools that have been unhygienic? Is the ministry in collaboration with Ministry of Education to try to solve unhygienic problems, especially in schools? Because it has been shown that schools have been the ones that have been severely affected by scabies.
All right, thank you for that question again. I will not say much on it. My colleague will elaborate more on it. But the government, Ministry of Health, is working in collaboration with the schools, Ministry of Education, to make sure that those schools which have poor sanitation, like maybe they don't have proper toilets, they don't have proper taps, they work hand in hand to make sure that such schools, they are improved, such schools, they are provided with running water so that they will be able to maintain good hygiene.
Right. Sir, just a bit of an elaboration, like the madam said, or
Yeah.
detailed explanation.
Yeah, thank you again once more for that question. Yes, Ministry of Health, in collaboration also with Ministry of Agriculture, last month we also had the WASH program. WASH is water sanitation and hygiene. So these programs, like agriculture and also health, we are running it together, and that's the inclusive of the schools also is one of the focuses. The prisons also, correctional services where you find the overcrowding and this. So what basically, as I have mentioned, how we keeping this disease in the beginning is when you give health education and the training to the people to make them understand the importance of and what scabies is and how to overcome this. And normally, scabies, if they are not on the human being bodies, it takes only 2 to 3 days, then it can die also natural. So for us, we have to improve, wash the clothing, and those who are not used, those contaminated things, you can close them, store them for 3 days, then it can also die out. So these are some of the mechanisms that we are also, when it comes to health education to schools and the teachers, and then to keep, maintain, do their best. That's a provision, as you have said, that agriculture and government is doing its best to give or provide potable water to schools. And these are being used for the cleaning up the areas and to do much on this to improve and to reduce. Because you cannot completely by one day eradicate scabies.
All right. Just a reminder to the public that we are going to open the lines within the next few minutes. So you can call us on 061 400 397. I repeat, 061 400 397. Also head on to our social media pages for Ministry of Information, Communications and Technology. On Facebook, you can find us on Ministry of Information and Communications Technology Namibia. If you're looking for us on YouTube, it's MICT Namibia. Those are our social media pages. But within the next few minutes, I'll just give an indication as to when you can call in. You can also give or leave comments or questions on our social media platforms, and we'll respond to it swiftly as we move through with the discussion. But speaking about it, Mr. Ava Asep, amongst all the cases reported countrywide, Kavango region is the most affected thus far amongst most of the regions. Due to the unavailability of necessary medication to treat the disease, what is the ministry's response thus far in order to treat people that have been affected by scabies in the Kavango region and other affected areas?
Thank you once more. With regards to the medicine not available in the region, I cannot share much more light on that one, probably because I'm not sure whether they have received it, because the time it was reported and the time for today, because government is doing its very best, as I have mentioned, so that as fast, as quick as possible, that we have to stop or to try to minimize the spread and so on. So with that one, for the medication, I cannot answer on that one I have. But basically, if you say that what is the ministry doing, as I've mentioned, there is still a lot that we have been doing, and we did not come. As a ministry, the minister has said that we have to come down, because if it was at that very, very like the way COVID was, then we could have had the lockdown. So it can still show you that it's still controllable. We are busy, and you can see that it's in the process of, and when it's very good that we also use the social media platforms, also at the schools, in the churches, traditionals, and that we are doing this very best for the people to understand what scabies and how it is caused and where they're hiding and how to minimize this. So I can promise maybe in the month or two we can have this case something like of the past.
All right, all right. I also just want clarity and a detailed explanation as to what type of programs the ministry, in collaboration with churches and traditional authorities, as you just mentioned, has in order to educate people about scabies. What are the different programs that the ministry has? Just a little bit of in detail so that we can have an understanding.
The programs, it's basically like the way we are doing in the media. You know, this is our surveillance, and these people from the expert are, and even at the health centers, at the clinics when they came, people, I think there's also a development of the pamphlets which is going around, you know, on scabies. The pamphlets, the face-to-face, and then in the churches, through the churches, you know, there must be announcements in the media how it should be, keeping the personal, improving the personal hygiene or the hygiene standard, how we should keep it. So on at the school, children need to be taught. It should be extra, like not the curriculum, but as the training, or what you call, what was the subject, like a guidance thing.
All right. All right. On the matter, if you do want to know more about scabies, or if you have personal experience and want to your questions answered, you can head onto your telephone and call us on 061 400 397. I repeat, 061 400 397. Other than that, if you are on social media platforms, you can reach us on, we are currently live on the Ministry of Information and Communications Technology page. Just go check us out. You can just comment or leave a comment if you have to ask a question, if there are specific questions that you'd like to ask. Right, let's head on to more questions. I know we've earlier spoken about how best we can curb the disease, which is scabies. Ms. Matinure, I just wanted clarity on what you should, or what the public should do to protect themselves from scabies. I know you've mentioned earlier that you need to be wash your clothes, be in a hygienic area. I think Mr. Ava Asep has mentioned that. Is there any additional points that you have on how the public can protect themselves from scabies?
Thank you for that question. First of all, like I mentioned earlier, when you see or suspect or you see any of the signs and symptoms to someone, that person, all of us as the public, we are responsible and accountable for one another. So you should make sure that you also advise that person to go to the clinic for treatment. You also the people who are in contact with that person, the direct prolonged skin-to-skin contact with the person, like the sexual partners, the household members should also be encouraged to go and be treated. They should all, including the infested person, be treated at the same time to avoid and prevent re-exposure and also reinfestation of the scabies. Also, we must make sure that the clothes, the beddings, including the furnitures that were used, that were in contact with the infested person, should be washed with hot water, and also you can do dry cleaning of such items. And if they cannot be dry cleaned, you can as well as put them in a plastic, and they can stay there for 2 to 3 days or more than that, as we've indicated earlier, that these mites, when they are outside the body of a person, or the outside, or when they are not on the skin, they can live only 2 to 3 days. So if you put it in a plastic and you leave it for 2 to 3 days or more, then the mice will die on their own. There's also the type of scabies which is more contagious, called the crusted scabies. That one, when the person who was infested with it, where that person was living, maybe a room, you should also make sure that you clean up those rooms. And after treatment, make sure that the people who were infested, even those who were close contacts, you should wash yourself and then you put on clean clothes. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Martinure. All right. If you do have specific questions and also an experience that you'd like to share with scabies, do call us. 061 400 397 is the line. Welcome back. This is the Government Information Sessions. And if you're just tuning in, I'm joined by Ms. Martinure and Mr. Ava Asep, who are the specialists who are talking to us about scabies that's happening that's been an outbreak in our country, especially in the northern regions. 061 400 397 is the line. Mr. Avaisep, is there anything else that we have left out that you'd like to add about scabies that is very pertinent to our viewers?
As my colleague has mentioned, in terms of, she mentioned on the case management, it's very essential and important that once you have those symptoms, or if you have seen those, that you come and report to the nearest, you run to the nearest health center, clinic, or a hospital. And people who are exposed to you or who are living with you, same, and when this treatment has to be taken out, it must be done simultaneously one time. So that it must not, you come, then you are treated, you come back, then you pick up, then this one come down. It mustn't be like that. When it is you having this, then health team will also come and visit your place, and you will be given more frequent advice, and then all of you will start undergoing for the treatment. So this will help minimize at that same certain areas. And as much as it has been mentioned, this overcrowding and whatever the disease, how it is being, when we improve the hygiene, the cleanliness, the personal hygiene, as my colleague have said, that the immediate reduction of the scabies exposures. That's the main part of it.
All right. On that note, earlier you mentioned that scabies outbreak is not as terrible as the outbreak of COVID. What is it that you can say, because you said that like crowded areas is also a risk for scabies. So on that note, you've briefly mentioned it as well. In an instance that people have been in a crowded area, myself, for instance, have been in a crowded area, I discovered that someone had scabies in that area. What is it that we need to do in order to stop me from getting scabies? Or do I need to seek for immediate treatment at the hospitals or clinics?
Yeah, some people sometimes, somehow, you must be honest and straightforward with the community themselves. I can also acquire, I can also get sick, I can also get with a contact person who was having a scabie, and I can bring it to my place, to my house. And then I can also, but some people, it's like they get shy I don't know why, it's like a discrimination, yeah, the thing. And that's why sometimes you find.
Yeah.
But we should be coming out, and then we will seek for the help, then you will be helped.
All right, all right. So I also want to know, Ms. In terms of medicine that's available, I think we've briefly also touched on the topic of medicine and medicine not being available. What type of medicine is being used to treat scabies currently in in our health facilities, Ms. Matinure?
For that question, I would say that scabies can be treated. Yes. So there are available medications in the form of, let me say, products. Some are in the form of creams that you can apply on your body. But those medications, they are only available upon prescription by the doctor. So the public is discouraged from just going to the pharmacy or any shop to get any product that they think might be able to treat scabies. But we are encouraging the public to seek medical attention at the doctor who will prescribe for you. And because in that prescription now, they will show you, they will give you instruction on how to apply that particular product on your body and how long you should stay with that product on your body before you wash it out.
All right.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier, just in that speech or in that answer, that you shouldn't just go to the pharmacy and buy whatever is necessary. I want to know, is there a difference or is there different rates of infection of scabies from one person to another? Or if someone that I know has been affected or has been has been infected by scabies, can I use their medicine that they have used or whatever cream that they've been using, or should I go to the doctor for the doctor to prescribe me my own medicine?
Okay. On that one, we should not use other people's medication. Let me say I went to the doctor and the doctor prescribed the product for me to use. I should be able to use that product alone until I'm done with it. And the next person should also go to the doctor to get the same or whatever the doctor was. Because, you know, the importance of us not just going to the shops or to the pharmacy just to get medication is that sometimes you are not sure if it's it. There are some diseases that are almost having the similar signs and symptoms, you see. So it's better you go to the doctor and then the doctor will assess the situation. They know what to do, and they will then confirm whether it is scabies or is something else. And if it's scabies, that's when they'll prescribe medication or products that will be able to treat scabies or any other. And yeah, something like that. Because when you are sharing now, you might not be finishing. For example, if it's medication that you need to drink, they put those number of them of pills according to how they done it. By the end of your by the end of you drinking them, you'll be fine. So you see, if you share now, you might not be well because you have not finished your dose. Yes.
All right. All right. If you do have any personal experiences with scabies and would like to leave a comment or even call us in, ask a question, you can call us right at 061 400 397. I repeat, 061 400 397. That's the telephone line that you can reach us on. On Facebook, you can reach us on our live and also just drop a comment on personal experience or specific question that you'd like to know. The Facebook is basically Ministry of Health. Ministry of Informations and Communications Technology dash Namibia. That's where you can reach us on Facebook. On YouTube, you can reach us on MICT Namibia if you have any questions. Right. On that note, you mentioned earlier in that statement that you just said right now when you're answering the question of we need to finish medicine. In terms of finishing medicine, is it specific, like the specific type of medicine we get for one person, is it medicine that has to be inherently finished in the minute? And also in that, just on a follow-up note of that, I also wanted clarity on the fact that you mentioned that there are certain, I don't want to say diseases, but certain symptoms that might look like scabies. So that's why we shouldn't drink your cousin's disease, someone else that has been infected medicine. What other type of diseases or infections, rather, for lack of better terms, that might look like scabies, and how do we differentiate the?
Um,
Yeah, Mr. Advisor.
Yeah, first of all, when it comes to medication, as you are saying, like when you come for the tablets, like Invectim, it's like a certain tablet which is just an oral treatment for the scabies. And then when she was mentioning like the lotion and the creams, that's now the ones that you use like a permethrin, 5% of pencil benzoate. Those are the creams that you can use. So the ones that the tablets, yes, he's completely right because the doctor have examined you, he does the diagnosis, he found out this is scabies, and that's why he gives you these tablets. So you have to finish the course of the thing. Okay, yes, on the skin and the irritations and irritations of the skin diseases, yes, they can be allergic, can also be the similar thing. The allergic, you know, the food stuff that you have eaten can also bring out some lesions or the pimples on your body. So it can also happen, and you might not know that you have eaten something, but you can accuse the scabies. So there can be some variation, is what you have said.
Right. Anything you'd like to add on, Miss?
Okay, on the question that you asked, that what are some of the diseases that are similar to scabies? Chicken pox, you may also be scratching, develop some rashes on it, as well as measles.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Right. So if you do have personal experience, I repeat, you can call us on 061 400 397. If you'd like to comment on scabies or even ask a specific question on scabies, I'm well aware that there is not much information out on scabies. Doctors are probably still studying scabies as well. Is it a new outbreak? Is it a new disease that has been, or is it something that has already been available? And how is it that we haven't known about it in Namibia?
Sorry, scabies have been over 3,000 years. It's been an old disease, you know, but the outbreak, the similarity, like the outbreak, the way it is now, like now this infestation, it was not that huge as it used to be, you know. But the disease has been already there. It's just that now, you see, we are coming up and maybe the hygiene standards and the water and community at large. You know, in the past, maybe we were few, but now we are coming up, so it can also advantage of Namibia society.
All right.
So-
Is there any additional information that we'd like the public to know? I know we're coming closer to the end of the show, but I'd like us, before we do our final remarks, anything else based on experience, based on the work that the ministry has done, anything else that we'd like to add on to the public that the public needs to know about scabies and the medicine as well as symptoms that are available that one might experience, sorry. Ms. Mantino.
Okay, I just want to say that scabies, as it said it earlier, it is not something that, it's not a disease or a condition that just occurred now. I've heard so many people on social media in different places saying that COVID-19 has brought these scabies. But we want to inform the public, as the minister also indicated, that this scabies is not, it's got nothing to do with COVID-19. It's a disease or a condition that has been there many, many years ago, and it is found worldwide. It affects all kinds of people, whether you are white, you are black, whether you are rich or poor, it does affect everyone.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a good point that you brought up right now, because not a lot of people know about scabies. There ought to be some myths around it. I like the clarity that you brought, that COVID-19 is the one that brought it, and you debunked that theory that it isn't. But what are the other myths that we experience about, or that you've seen that people align, for lack of better terms, with scabies, Mr. Abaisib? What are the myths that are associated
Yeah.
with scabies?
Yeah, some of the myths is also, somebody was saying on the media, can scabies also be transferred through sexually? You know, there is a difference. It's a skin to skin. So if yes, in the whatever the cause, especially if the skins have one skin to another skin outside. And if the person which is having, then do the one which is not. That's where it can be transmitted. Not through, or it can also, not through the sexual, but once there is a skin contact, yes, from the infected to the non, that's where you can get this one.
All right. We do have a comment. We do have a comment on our social media platforms. All right. Richie Third Type said, "How can one remove scabies mites from the house or carpet?" Is there any way that we can remove scabies from our mites or even carpets from our house?
We can remove them with a vacuum cleaning, by making use of this vacuum cleaning. We can, and as you have mentioned, we can also clean the area with the soap, and if the carpet is like this, we can wash it with soap and hot water.
Right. We do have a follow-up comment as well. How do you use hot water to decontaminate the soil lines or clothes? That's actually just a comment. So basically, what Mr. Matinure is saying, maybe a family member of yours he's saying that use hot water to decontaminate the soil or clothes available as well. Is that true, ma'am?
Yes, it is true.
All right. If you do have any comments, head on to our social media platforms, especially Facebook. We are live on Facebook currently, and just leave a comment or even a question that you might have. Maybe you have a personal experience with scabies. Just head on to our social media platforms. Facebook, you can reach us at Ministry of Informations and Communications Technology Namibia, or rather dash Namibia. That's where you can reach us on YouTube, MICT Namibia. That's where you can catch this discussion, even though if there's something specific that you'd like to show to a relative. Right, 061 400 397 is the line if you'd like to call and also ask or even comment on the issue. Right, sir, you were talking about some of the myths. Is there anything else that is a myth that's being associated with scabies? Maybe, Ms. Matinure, you have had an experience of myths.
Okay, people with scabies might be discriminated because people might think that even when I'm far from you like this, you may be at risk, or I might pass the mite to you. But as we have heard from this description, that for you to be at risk or to be exposed, you need to be in direct, prolonged skin-to-skin contact with the infested person. So people should take that one in mind. Shaking your hands just maybe a minute or so will not expose you from passing the mites to the next person. Yes.
All right. We do have another comment on our social media platforms. Let's look at that. Right. Just a comment or just head on to our social media platforms, especially on Facebook. We are live currently, Ministry of Informations and Communications Technology dash Namibia. That's where you can reach us on Facebook. Right. Richie Third Type says, from the type of scabies, which is non-crusted versus crusted, which is more common in Namibia?
The non-crusted ones.
The non-crusted
Because
ones.
the crusted is mostly those topical, with a high humidity, like in the urban areas, but we are having the more of this one, the non-crusted ones.
All right. Could you just elaborate to the listeners and also the viewers on what the difference between non-crusted and crusted scabies is?
Crusted is those though all of them are, let's say, infested, can be the crusted one are most explicit. It's how do I say it? It's explosive. And that one you commonly find it in those topical, like with the regions with the high humidity. You get what I'm saying? While these of ours, like, okay, what are like in Kawango and so on, it's where you find this. Also, in Windhoek, you can also find them. But the common names where they are common is these ones, non-crusted, are common here in Namibia.
All right.
But I don't rule out the other ones' existence
Yes,
also.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes, but let's talk about the symptoms. Are the symptoms still the same, or do they differ in both of them, Ms. Matinure?
Okay, crusted and non-crusted. For the non-crusted is the one that we've mentioned, the signs and symptoms. But for the, it's not the crusted, I mean, sorry. The crusted one is the one that we have, okay, sorry. The non-crusted, the one that we have mentioned earlier, the signs and symptoms. Ne? For crusted, there's another type which is more contagious than the one that we have mentioned about. You'll see that on the crusted ones, a lot of mites will be on your bodies, and mostly it affects those who are immunocompromised, the elderly, or those who have maybe problems with you cannot scratch yourself. Yeah, you cannot do something on yourself because mentally you are not fine. So you can not do some of the things. So that cluster scabies may affect such people.
All right. We're almost coming to the end of the show. One thing I'd like us to do is just a little bit of a round of final remarks. Just also a summary of what you'd like people to know, if just in case someone just tuned in now, just what they need to know about scabies, but just final remarks as well about scabies. Yes, let's start with Mr. Abaise.
Ladies start.
Ladies first, the gentleman said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We just want to inform the public that scabies is in Namibia, in the northern parts, as indicated by the minister. So we should be on alert. Like I said before, that we are all each other's keeper. So when you notice anybody who has who have signs and symptoms of scabies, it is better that you inform the nearest clinic and also advise the person to go and seek medical attention. Let's follow the health education that is given on the social media, so that we'll be able to be aware of what scabies is all about, how it is transmitted, and how we can prevent ourselves and our people that we love from these scabies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abaise.
Yeah. Also, as my colleague have said, scabies shouldn't be a discriminatory issue. This is a national issue, and we must join hands. It's not only for me, it can be for anyone else. So as much as we can do, everybody, even me, myself, from my household, let's do and follow as it being said in the media and the people who are educating us and repeatedly. And then should we find cases, even your own child, he can also go and play and kid it at somebody else's house. When he come, we'll find out, and then that person also ever advise him to go and seek for the medical attention. Let's not ignore, let's come out, and then because it's not a discrimination, it's not something which is funny. It's a disease that we all have to fight, and then to fight out, kick out scabies out of Namibia.
All right, kicking scabies out of Namibia. I think we'll use that to try to kick scabies out of Namibia.
Yes,
I hope the ministry is working on that. Make it a hashtag, make it trend, so that people are more aware about it.
Yeah.
All right. With that said, we've come to the end of the government information session for today, which was an update on scabies, which had an outbreak in Namibia, specifically in the northern part of Namibia. My name is Donald Kariseb. I was joined today by Mr. Abaise to our far left, and also Mrs. Elizabeth Namatama Matinure, who both gave us insight on what we need to know about scabies, how we can prevent it, and in the instance that we have come in contact with it, how we can, cure ourselves of it. Not necessarily ourselves, but how we can go about getting the cure. Right. If you did miss out on the session, you can head on to the live that we're going to post on our page, which is at Ministry of Information and Communications Technology-Namibia. Or you can head on to our YouTube channel, which is MICT Namibia. That's basically it. My name is Donald Karisep. We've come to the end of today's government information session. Stay tuned. We might have the next one for the next thought-provoking conversation and also informative sessions.